What is going on, everyone? Platinum B is coming at you with yet another video today. Today we are going to be talking about what people might not be thinking about when it comes to the big flip of platinum to palladium. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, everybody, so big flip, platinum, palladium. We've been talking about it for a little while. If we take a look at the platinum chart, here's what we're looking at the recording of this video. And if we took a look at the palladium chart, here's what we're looking at the recording of this video. So platinum, palladium, they're getting close. They're getting really close, and I've talked about the big flip on this channel previously, okay? So that's not new news to y'all. However, there's something to keep in mind when thinking about that big flip that the auto manufacturers have either already done, are doing, in the process of, whatever you want to say about it. There is something to keep in mind, okay? When I was doing research on platinum, palladium, and the flip and the potential for manufacturers to flip back and forth between the two, I came up with some interesting information that I'm going to share with y'all once again. Okay, first and foremost, diesel vehicles have continued to use platinum in their catalytic converters and their emission systems this entire time. Now, diesel does not make up the majority of vehicles, at least not in America, and there was the whole debacle back in Europe way back in the day. And so diesel vehicles have kind of fell out of favor for unleaded fuel vehicles. So unleaded fuel vehicles for a long while now have used palladium in their catalytic converters. And that is what a lot of people attribute the reason behind platinum going down and palladium going way up. And so with that being said, platinum has remained at a constant $8, $9, almost $1,000 spot price. And palladium has simply dropped and dropped and dropped over the past couple of years. Now, a lot of people say that the big flip's going to happen. Well, if it does, there's something to keep in mind regarding that, okay? When I was doing my research on this way back in the day, I noticed, or I learned, that in order for auto manufacturers to use platinum or palladium in the catalyst and the catalytic converters and the emission systems of automobiles, there is a certain factor that a lot of people don't really think about, okay? One of the reasons why auto manufacturers switched from using platinum to ultimately using palladium is because it takes twice as much platinum as it does palladium to filter the same amount of emissions, okay? So that's a factor that not a lot of people are thinking about. People are thinking it's just going to be a flat, even switch, and they're going to take palladium out and put platinum in. Well, if they do that, they will ultimately have to use twice as much platinum, okay? So realistically speaking, at the current spot prices, or prices of these metals, palladium is still a better buy because it's almost the same price as platinum, but you don't have to use as much, okay? Now, what's interesting about that is they are the same price, right? So they're getting closer and closer. So does that mean palladium's going to get down to like $500 an ounce and platinum's going to remain at $1,000 an ounce? That could potentially happen. And if it does, there's going to be all these people come out and say platinum and palladium are a bad investment. They're the worst thing ever, yada, yada, yada. However, I think if that were to occur, that would be the break-even point, right? Auto manufacturers would be at $500 palladium, $1,000 platinum, and they would start to move back into palladium. Now, there's a whole process of switching over the catalyst and the design and things like that. So it would take time. So that's what gives people the idea that the switch has already begun and palladium's just going to continue to go down and platinum's just going to continue to go up because the switch has occurred, right? Now, I could get into the topic of electric vehicles, but all we hear in the news is that the demand is down, the demand is not what it was supposed to be, it's not happening, yada, yada, yada. All these government things are implementing these restrictions and requirements of EVs and stuff, and nobody's buying them, and it's just a big mess, right? So personally, I don't think electric vehicles are going to take off like everyone says they are. So what does that mean? That means we're going to still need these metals to filter those emissions, okay? The electric vehicle market, some 1-2% of new vehicles today sold are electric. People are buying gas like nobody's business. They do not care about electric. They don't like electric. They just aren't doing it, right? And a lot of people are being disappointed. If you take a look at dealer lots, a lot of electric vehicles are being turned in or traded in almost immediately. And I guarantee it's not for another electric vehicle because most manufacturers only have 1 or 2 to begin with. So they're probably switching them out for gas, okay? So gas is going to be around for quite a while. So with that being said, palladium and platinum are going to be needed in that industry for quite a while. By the time we reach full electric cars, I guarantee they've found another platinum and palladium use and demand is going to continue, right? But at the end of the day, you got to take all this with a grain of salt, okay? No one really knows where anything's going to go or what's going to happen in any stratosphere, right? However, when it comes to palladium and platinum flip, we do need to keep in mind the different ratios of each metal that are used for the applications of the industry in which they are used in, right? So, with that being said, platinum, palladium, they're both platinum group metals, but they're both just different enough that they can be swapped for one another, but not in equal proportions. So it's something to keep in mind, right? We very well could see $500 palladium, $1,000 platinum, and that's where it sits for a while. Now, what I really think is that if palladium goes way down and platinum goes way up, we could see a slight increase in platinum spot price, okay? It's not like platinum's just going to start being bought at $1,000 an ounce and it's just going to stay there. If all the manufacturers in automotive industry switch over, it's going to start being bought up and bought up and bought up, and that's going to drive the price up. It's just inevitable, right? So we could see a normalization of $1,100, $1,200 spot price on platinum, which would be very, very nice for those of y'all who have been holding out since way back in the day, okay? So if we reach that $1,100, $1,200 spot price float, that would indicate a new bottom, okay? So when it comes to platinum, the bottom right now, I've talked about this for really years at this point. The bottom right now is around $800, $900. It's not going to go below that. It hasn't since the great crash of year 20. And so aside from some major world event, $800, $900 is the bottom of platinum, okay? It simply can't go any lower than that because it just simply costs about that much to pull it out of the ground from what I've done in my research and seen. One last thing to keep in mind about palladium, okay? 80%, if memory serves correct, of the world's palladium is mined in Russia, okay? Now, if you know anything about what's going on in the news, you know Russia is in an interesting place as far as the world economy and the world politics and all that stuff is concerned. So with that being said, lots of places in the world, lots of Western countries, lots of first world countries are deciding to either limit, completely stop, or do very little business with Russia, okay? But if they meant 80% of the world's palladium, that's going to only increase the demand of all industries using these things and using these metals to switch to platinum or some other metal that they can get somewhere else for a much lower cost. So if that happens, demand for platinum is going to skyrocket and demand for palladium is just going to go down. That could also be a tool that other governments and world officials and all these things see as a way to kind of put an extra burden on Russia, right? Because a lot of the world doesn't agree with what they're doing and things like that, which is understandable. However, palladium is something that the world currently uses, right? So they're using it right now and they'll continue to use it. So I don't want to tell you to go and sell all your palladium and just go all in on platinum. However, there are many different cases on which this metal specifically could end up being a replacement for another metal, palladium, in all different types of industries. So that's all I have for y'all today. Appreciate y'all stopping by and checking out the video. Be sure to hit the like button on your way out. Hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with future updates on the Platinum Beast channel. And until next time, we'll see y'all.